Back in the day, the coal miners dug deep to make Britain rich, but at a price. More than £4 billion has been paid in compensation to men who suffered from lung disease and other illnesses. The National Union of Mineworkers helped their members get the compensation, and in return, miners could tick a box, gifting a part of their money to the union. This is a story about what happened with some of that money in the NUM's Northumberland area.
That was the Labour Party at its best yesterday, defending the trade union movement.
Before Ian Lavery became an MP in 2010, he had been the General Secretary of the Miners' Union in Northumberland for 18 years.
And I did tell the Commons, I says, listen, I'm the most experienced man in here with regards to the trade union bill. I've been assaulted on picket lines. And I've been on strike more than anybody in the Commons.
He is now Jeremy Corbyn's front bench spokesman on trade unions. So what happened on his watch as the NUM's Northumberland area boss is instructive. The first line on the graph shows the amount of money spent on members' benefits from 1992 onwards, the year Lavery became General Secretary. The second line, Lavery's pay. In 2010, Lavery quit the union and was elected MP for Wansbeck, one of the safest Labour constituencies in the country. Mr. Lavery got redundancy money, and that feels odd because it seems as though he effectively resigned to go and work in that place behind me. The dosh, we think £62,000. But on top of that, there's a further £85,000 paid out to past General Secretary redundancy costs. And there's a mystery about who that is. Mr. Lavery started at the union in 1992, and he's told us that he did receive a redundancy payment in 2013, when the £85,000 pops up on the union's accounts. So, on the face of it, it looks like the mystery beneficiary of the mystery £85,000 is Ian Lavery. These numbers are reasonable. The argument could be made if the National Union of Mineworkers in Northumberland area had thousands of members. But the world has moved on. All the pits are closed, the industry is dead, and the union moribund. How many members has it got? Just 6 people. Mr. Lavery has certainly benefited from the union in other ways. This is his house in Ashington, bought in 1994 for £75,000. Like most people, he got a mortgage. Unlike most people, the lender was not a bank, but the National Union of Mineworkers Northumberland Areas Provident and Benevolent Fund. Newsnight has obtained these documents that show that Ian Lavery got a mortgage at an exceptionally generous rate. A typical mortgage in 1994 attracted an interest rate of around 8%. Lavery's loan from the NUM's Benevolent Fund was at just 3%. There's another mystery in the accounts. A Benevolent Fund loan worth £109,000 written off in 2007, the year when Mr. Lavery says his mortgage arrangement ended. Newsnight has been doing some sums. £109,000 is pretty much exactly what you would expect Mr. Lavery to owe had he made none or virtually no repayments on his mortgage. So was the £109,000 written off by the union actually £109,000 owed by Mr. Lavery? Mr. Lavery says all of this is a private matter. He does say that regular mortgage payments were made, but not by whom. Hello? Since Newsnight began this investigation, we have repeatedly asked Mr. Lavery for an interview. We went to his constituency office in Northumberland. To begin with, they wouldn't reply to our emails. They wouldn't return our phone calls. They wouldn't even open the door. Eventually, we got an email from Ian Lavery, but there were still some questions unanswered. So, time to catch up with him near Westminster.
Hello there.
John Sweeney from Newsnight.
Hello, John. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You got the mortgage from the union.
Yeah,
Did you pay it off?
the union and myself came to a financial agreement in 2007 with
Watch
regard
yourself.
to the mortgage, which will remain private between myself and the union. That was the agreement.
Right, okay. But you were the General Secretary of the union.
Yes.
So you're agreeing with yourself. It looks as though...
No, I was never
It looks as though
involved.
you raided the union's piggy bank, sir.
Well, that's unfair.
What we're here to do is to ask you a question. Did you pay off your mortgage?
My mortgage was paid off with the National Union of Mineworkers in a
you
financial
pay it off? Did you pay it
agreement
off?
which was acceptable to both parties.
Well, you'll be
And that
talking
will-
about yourself. You were the General Secretary.
No, I was never
You were the
involved in
general-
any of the negotiations at the beginning of the mortgage.
so
I was never involved with any of the negotiations
But that's
at the
absurd.
conclusion.
That's
well, you
entirely absurd.
you might wish to say that, but it isn't absurd, and it's unfair to say that
Why
because
is it
these
unfair? You were the
because-
General Secretary of the union, and the union gave you a mortgage, and you haven't answered the question.
Because
Did you
we've
pay
got-
it off? Or-
Just for the sake of clarity, Mr.
Yes,
Sweeney, for the
yes.
sake of clarity, any business done with regard to the General Secretary, I wouldn't, financial business, I wouldn't be involved in.
Hey,
What I will
listen,
say once again to you,
Yes, go
that
on.
the mortgage was settled in 2007
It was
between
settled, but did you
between
pay
the
it off?
trustees.
Did you pay it off?
It was
Did you
settled
pay
in
it off?
2007
You said
between
that.
myself
I've got that. I
and the
understand
union,
that. Great.
and that was done amicably and on a private basis.
Have you paid off the mortgage?
That will remain between myself and the National Union of Mineworkers. What
of
the-
which you were the General Secretary
Yes,
at the relevant
yes,
time.
yes.
So it looks like an inside deal. Can I ask you-
absolutely disgraceful to suggest such a thing.
Thank
But
you.
I've got to get to
Okay,
the
but-
comments.
okay.
I've got a meeting.
So
I hope I've answered your questions, and I hope I've been
No, you
polite
haven't
enough.
really.
Well, I hope I've been polite enough to try and answer your
Okay,
questions.
yes, but you haven't answered the principal question,
I've
which
answered
is,
them.
did you pay the mortgage?
I've answered the questions. I've spent 10 minutes here answering the questions, and I've emailed you. So thanks very much anyway. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Rightly or wrongly, the public are demanding more and more transparency from the politicians as to where they get their money from. On the question of Mr. Lavery's mortgage, he's been as transparent as the river behind me.